care of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Are we live?
Yes, I believe we are.
Okay, great. And should we give the audience a few minutes? I can't see how many have joined. Maybe we can give them.
Yeah,
We are live, team. We are live.
Okay. Maybe we can give the audience a few minutes to join.
Sounds good.
Hey, team. I'm following up on everybody that has RSVP to the event. So we should be get going in the next 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. Let us know when you're ready to begin.
Hey, team. I think we can get started. I'll continue following up, but I think this is a great time for us to get started.
Okay, great. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you to our especially thanks for our guest speakers for joining us with DABA. I know the audience is very excited to learn more about how to build wealth as young African diasporas, first gens. And so given your inspiring and very impressive career trajectories, we wanted to shed light on your success and the journey that you guys have been on to reaching where you guys are today. And we specifically also chose 2 leaders that are from opposite sides of the continent so we can have a diverse perspective on how to build wealth as young African diasporas. So I'll go ahead and begin with introducing myself and then pass the mic over to our co-founders, Boom and Anthony, and then hand over the floor to our guest speakers, Chico and Zalalem. Um, so to introduce myself, my name is Alam Bakala. I'm a global MBA candidate at George Washington University, based in Washington, D.C. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. with family from Ethiopia. My professional background is in global healthcare development in a program management space, and I'm looking to pivot my career over into entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship on the continent. And so, that being said, I also joined DABA as a community and business development manager, and so I'm really excited for this webinar and to have a very fruitful and impactful conversation with you all. I'll hand over the mic over to either Boom or Anthony, and then we can hear from our guest speakers.
Thank you very much, Alan, and thank you very much for putting all of this together. So I'm Boom, CEO and co-founder of DABA. And at DABA, our mission is to democratize investing in wealth building in and out of Africa. And to do that, we have built a singular full stack end-to-end investment platform that helps every type of investor invest safely, transparently in and out of Africa. So that's a little bit about me and the platform, but that is not necessarily the topic of the conversation today. We really want to hear from our two top tier guests here today that will now go on and introduce themselves. Chico, the floor is yours.
Oh, wow. Thank you. My name is Chico, and I simply, just to introduce myself, I'm an entrepreneur. I was born and raised in Nigeria. My parents migrated here to the U.S. When I was 7 years old, and I've pretty much been in the U.S. In the D.C. Metro area since then. And I went to school here, went to college here, graduated with honors, started a job, and quickly found out that my passion is actually entrepreneurship. So I went on to quit my job at the age of 26 with $1,000 in the bank, and then went on to start a couple of different businesses. And today we have over 70 employees, and we do over $10 million in revenue.
Hi.
Hi everyone, my name is Zalalem Gzacho. I was born and raised in Ethiopia, went to school in Ethiopia as well, but had a chance to work outside of in the country as well as outside of the country, globally working in global health. I've always been interested in technology and the use of technology to solve development problem, mainly issues that we face in this part of the world. I studied medical laboratory technology and also went to a night school to study computer science. Currently, so I founded Opian Health 6-7 years ago with a vision to integrate healthcare services with technology. Now we run two main programs. One of them is a quantification and forecasting mathematical model that countries use to actually predict commodity use and commodity need for budgetary and funding purpose. We provide services in about 23 countries, mainly African countries. The second product that we are going to launch is a virtual clinic to basically provide a virtual consultation for services that are not available in the peripheral side of the healthcare system here in Ethiopia, but have a plan to expand to other African countries as well.
Nice. Thank you, guys. Thank you for those comprehensive and brief introductions about yourselves and your respective companies. It's very inspiring. So to kickstart the conversation, I kind of just want to break the ice and ask you both what it means to build wealth as an African to you, given your personal experiences professionally and personally. And was that a goal throughout your professional journey to be an entrepreneur? And if it wasn't, what did that career pivot look like and what inspired that the career that you're in right now.
Sure.
Maybe either of you guys can go ahead and take a stab at it.
Zalalam, you want to take a stab at it, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, go first, and I'll take it from there.
So I mean, actually, for me, I never knew what entrepreneurship was, or I didn't even think I wanted to be in business. Pretty much, at first when I got into college, you know how like most of our immigrant parents tell us to either be a doctor, lawyer, or an engineer. So I actually wanted to be a doctor. But as I was going through school, I realized that I was more interested in business. But I didn't know exactly how to channel that. So what I did, I ended up switching my major from biology to healthcare management, to get into like the management aspect of healthcare. So when I graduated, I became a recruiter. I got hired for a recruiting role. So I was recruiting nurses and placing them on temp jobs. As I was doing that and also studying how the business worked, I realized that I was more passionate about the intricacies of how the business worked than more so the job. And as I realized that I was performing at the job and helping the company make a lot of money, I realized, you know what, I could probably do this for myself. And that's when I realized that, I should probably take a stab at this thing called entrepreneurship. And I quit my job and started my own staffing agency at the time. And it was scary, and a lot of work, but during the process, you learn things that that you can that you adjust and make it work and build from there. So I would say I kind of stumbled upon entrepreneurship in a way, and just kind of fell in love with it and just kind of made it work.
Chico, I just want to ask you a follow-up question to that. Given that this hasn't been a vision for you, starting off your career, how did you also break that news to your family? I'm sure they were super excited when you were going to med school and you were following the career trajectory that they had in store for you. So how did you break that to your family, and how are they also consuming that now given your success?
Right. So my mom always knew I wanted to be a doctor. Everybody in the family knew that I wanted to be a pediatrician, to be specific. So after, and then I had, imagine this, I had gotten a scholarship, a Bill Gates scholarship, to pay for not just my undergrad, but also my, medical school, or if I wanted to. But after the first year of me being in college, I came back home and I told my mom that I had an update for her. And she was like, "What's the update?" I said, "Well, I no longer want to be a doctor." And she's like, "What do you want to be?" And I said, I want to be a business owner. I want to run my own business." And she was pretty upset, and and she was upset, and she didn't understand why I had made that choice. But along the way, obviously, she's I think she's excited about the career path that I chose. Sometimes she still tells me that I can go back to school and become a doctor.
Well, you're making your millions now, so I would hope that she's proud of you now.
Yeah, I hope so.
And Zalalam, how about you, especially given that you were born and raised outside of the capital city of Ethiopia in Debre Zeit? I'm sure there were even more layers of challenges for you breaking out of that and making it into the capital city where there is more opportunity. So could you kind of unpack that for us?
Yeah. So, I mean, I haven't been, a business kind of person, all of my life. The peculiar thing living in this part of the world is most of the time we are the one who's responsible to create our own paths, navigate through it, and decide, what path to take or not. So pretty much the decision I've made throughout my life is my own. I don't have to consult, family or anything. But after working for the Clinton Foundation in the Clinton Health Access Initiative, one of the inspiring things that I've learned is any development problem can actually be solved using market principle, business solutions. The usual route in this sector is to aid-based, approach and strategy. But with my work at the Clinton Foundation, we basically sourced and utilized business solutions to solve the issue of access to quality healthcare, and that has been applied for the HIV, TB, malaria, and other critical issues. And all of those strategies, like techniques, my colleagues at the Clinton Foundation brought from their either Wall Street background or business background, inspired me to a greater lengths, and that led me to get into business, and that was what inspired me, and I quit Clinton Foundation and started working on this project. And for a country like ours, it's really important to create this kind of innovation and own businesses and build wealth, because we have a unique demographic in this part of the world. Majority of the demography is young, under 30. These people are, tech savvy, partially trained on technology, using the current social media trend, or whatever you might think, and investing on them. Also, using this force to create wealth, reinvest, and create jobs. It's a critical task that we have to do. So yeah, these are the things that inspired me to get into business.
Thank you. So I want to hone in on the hardship, the obstacles that you both face. I mean, you guys are very inspiring in a sense where you guys come from different parts of the world and ended up in different parts of the world. And a lot of our audience have a similar background in the sense that we all come from Africa. And we're all very talented in our own ways, but we're trying to figure out what is the blueprint to building wealth as a young African, right? And so given your diverse perspectives, if you guys could share what obstacles you all faced and how you guys tackled them and what were the best strategies, so that you can kind of advise young leaders in the making that come after you guys, so that everyone isn't continuously reinventing the wheel. So if any of you guys could kind of touch on that and provide some insights and advice to our audience, that would be great.
Sure. So that's a lot in a question that you just asked there. So I'm gonna try to see.
Chico, let's go.
So let's go. So for me, wealth is having an abundance of something, a resource. It could be material, it could be immaterial. But I don't necessarily believe that wealth is created. I believe that wealth exists, that we just have to tap into it. So just like almost like in biology or science, since we were talking about me being a doctor earlier, like energy is neither created or destroyed. So either you have potential energy or you have kinetic energy. So you have stored energy or energy in motion. So I believe in the same way, wealth is not created, or can it be destroyed? But the definition of wealth, I believe that wealth is basically having a lot of value, right? So when it comes to wealth, I don't think you can create it or build it. I think you can tap into it. So one of the ways to do that I believe is through entrepreneurship, right? So if you can develop something, if you can find a way to make or solve someone else's problem, whatever that problem is, then you're going to be able to collect the wealth that they have for you in a way. So people share wealth by paying for a service, paying for a product, or paying for something. So for me, once I realized that basically wealth can be collected in a way, I looked to figure out a way for me to be able to add value to people, to customers that are around. So one of the ways that I do that is through my staffing agency. And basically what we do is we solve the problem of organizations that have staffing issues. Okay. That was the first project I worked on. And then the second project is office. So entrepreneurs, they normally need a place to work. So the second project was creating a company that focused on providing entrepreneurs with affordable, professional, and flexible office space. So I think for those who are listening here, what is very easy to tap into. You just got to figure out the value that you're going to provide to your customer base. And if you can figure out how to create that value or solve the problem that an individual or a group of people have and do that often, you're going to be able to create wealth, basically.
I love that.
For me,
Yeah, I have a lot to.
are you gonna ask a question, like a follow-up question, or should I continue?
No, I was gonna say you have a lot to compete with, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to start with, like, some of the challenges that we face going through this process here in Ethiopia, and mainly this part of the country. The content is it's not easy. We have issues of financing option when pursuing entrepreneurship. We have an issue of infrastructure, infrastructure, lack of technological infrastructure to harness our innovation. We also, I mean, our education system is also a bit you know not good in a sense that it always failed to prepare students for entrepreneur spirit. And given those challenges, we also have a huge opportunity here, different from the West, for example, because our problem is a lot, and there are so many things to solve in our part of the world. And for anyone who pause and think and analyze some of the issues we have, there are so many areas that we can young entrepreneurs can involve into healthcare, agriculture, the commodity market here. Any sector is almost untouched in terms of innovation and getting into business. So although we have a lot of challenge, there is also a huge opportunity for African entrepreneurs to pick up these issues and create innovation and create a successful business. Yeah, I think that's to start. That's some of the major points.
Thank you. So as we all know, being an entrepreneur is one of the hardest jobs to take on, right? Like there's so many points that I'm sure that everyone on this call can attest to where they felt like just giving up. And there's so many entrepreneurs that are just like one step away from reaching success, but they have like co-founder breakups, or there's just so many obstacles and so many reasons why an entrepreneur can just fall off the grid, right? So if either of you can kind of share more about what sustains your drive and your momentum. And I kind of want to start with Chico, because I feel like every morning I wake up and on Instagram, you're in that elevator screaming like, everybody wake up, keep grinding. And I'm like, man, this guy, he never gets tired. He's always excited. He keeps pushing. And so if you could just share where all of that energy is stemming from and kind of give some advice for our listeners, as I'm sure a lot are hesitant to pursue this career path, but they have this passion and drive to impact the continent in meaningful ways. And so if you can kind of unpack that for us and get personal with us.
Yeah, no, entrepreneurship, I mean, you're a real entrepreneur when you wake up every single day and you feel like giving up, because that will happen. Trust me, because you're trying to solve a problem that people have. And sometimes those people appreciate it and sometimes those people don't. But you got to have a positive mindset and be committed to what you're going after, because if you're committed, because your feelings are going to go up and down. Feelings and things are happening, they're going to go up and down, but you have to be committed to that goal that you've set out or that problem that you've set out to accomplish. And as long as you have a positive mindset every single day, I think you get closer and closer to finding a solution or helping add more quote unquote value or more wealth into the universe, and that's just what I believe. But yes, you're going to have challenging times, and challenging times are not opportunities for you to quit. Challenging times are opportunity for you to level up. You know, for example, my first business, which is a staffing company, right out the gate, you know, we had really good success in the beginning, and then so like the first year we were able to do $400,000 in business, and then the second year we did $800,000 of business. But then the third year, I had a client that was majority of our business that filed for bankruptcy, right? And she owed us, that company owed us so much money that I had already paid out staff and expecting that money to come in, and I had no money. So we were at a point that we were about to fold up pretty much. And basically in that moment, I was about to make a decision to close the business, but I'm glad I continued. But what I did was just to kind of get my mind off of what was happening currently. I ended up deciding, which is a crazy thought now that I think about it, I decided to start another business. That's when I started Perfect Office. Basically thinking of a way to just kind of distract me from what was going on so that I don't make any rash decisions, but start something else that could add value to another group of people. And I'm glad I did that, because that ended up Perfect Office now is actually one of my biggest companies, and it's bigger than the first company that I started. So in a moment of stress, figure out and see the positive in it, and figure out a way that you can level up. That's why it's just important to always have a positive mindset. That's why every single morning that I wake up, I just work on myself first and make sure that I'm in the right spirit and right mindset, and then I attack the day.
I love that. No, I mean, even for me personally, it excites me and it wakes me up and it gets me eager to start my day. So I can only imagine how many others you're impacting through your social media content, your inspiration into sustaining your drive. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Zalam, do you have anything you want to add to that, or do you want to move on?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit in terms of giving up. You know, as I said, we have a lot of issues here, and we have to go through these issues, navigate through them, regardless. You know, just to give you an example, you know, we provide this quantification and forecasting services using our tool to more than 23 countries, and that is heavily dependent on the tech infrastructure that we can provide for our clients. Because of our peculiar issue, there is a continuous internet outage, you know, disconnection of internet, and you know, we reached a point where a lot of our clients, you know, were disappointed on us, and although it's not our problem, so these things actually test you a lot, and it's really directly affecting our performance. Although we have a good service, a good tool that we can provide to our clients. But at the same time, I feel we have a responsibility as well, different from other setting. The country, Ethiopia, is like, you know, in the path of growing. New development is being done. And if people like us who started the journey don't persist and continue fighting, you know, we won't have a chance to make it. And we have to be an example. So there is an added layer to for us, which is a responsibility. We have a responsibility to solve these issues together, and continue persisting so that we can be an example for others. Nowadays, many things have changed. For that, we're grateful that we stayed in the business, although, you know, there was so many things to make us give up. You know.
Absolutely. And that's kind of why we wanted to have this webinar with you guys, so that we can, you know, keep this community building going, so we can all be able to work with each other within our respective networks that share the same vision and goals. So thank you for that. And I know we have to move on to the next big topic, but I just want to close off this intro with one last question. did either of you guys have mentors and or sponsors along your entrepreneurial journey? And if you did, how did you guys land them, so that our viewers can also kind of learn the roadmap to as to how to build that smaller inner circle network to help them climb up that ladder. So just to clarify, the difference between mentor and a sponsor is basically a mentor is someone that would support you along the way, and doesn't necessarily have to be all the way up that high, like a C-suite or too successful, but has skills that they can contribute and advice that they can contribute to help you grow in your respective personal growth. And then a sponsor is someone that is at tables that you wouldn't necessarily have access to, but will bridge that gap for you. And so, could you kind of just share have you had either one of the two? How did you land those relationships, and how have you sustained those relationships, and what doors have those networks opened for you?
Sure. So for me personally, I didn't have any um sponsors per se, and also like an individual mentor. But I will say I had mentors, and let me explain. So the way I kind of look at things is that anybody can be your mentor, whether they know it or not, because life is all about copy and paste it. You know what I mean? So you copy what you like from an individual, right? And you paste it accordingly in a way that can help you build value. So I don't have to know a Mark Zuckerberg. I don't have to know a Bill Gates. I don't have to know some of these successful entrepreneurs that have like blazed the path. But I can always read books. I can always read articles and pick out and learn things from them. Also, so that could be a form of mentorship. Another form of mentorship is your clients, the people you're trying to solve a problem for. They're going to be able to tell you exactly what you need to do, what you didn't do right, whether this is too small, too large, too fast, too slow, and you can learn from that. And then also, even your employees or your team members, you're going to be able to actually glean some insights from them too. So the way I kind of look at it is that everybody or anybody can be your mentor. So you have access to that, whether you have money or influence. You've got the internet, of course. You've got Google, and then I always tell people Google is your friend. You can find anybody on Google, learn about them, and apply some of the principles that they've learned through the process into what you're trying to get accomplished. So I know I started the answer with I didn't have mentors or sponsors, but technically I do, in a way. So you can build your own team of mentors to be able to help you get to the next phase.
That's great.
For me, I also don't have sponsors, but I have a couple of mentors that I go to whenever I have questions. Mainly, those questions are those I don't have strong expertise on. I'm a creative person. I innovate. I can think, but I don't know anything about finance or those kind of things. But I build a group of mentors, either through my own friends, family members, and former colleagues as well, which I go to for these kind of questions. Other than that, I heavily rely on my employees. We have a strong, recruitment mechanism where we set values when we hire. We also do, mentorship program ourselves to new hires, so that we can build a strong team that may require maybe not a lot of mentors. We also run a lot of survey as a data company. As Chico said, the clients are another great mentors. So we run a lot of surveys online, asking specific questions that direct our strategy and direction in terms of product development. So we rely on these kind of techniques, and I agree with Chico as well. Like we use Google a lot. The internet is nowadays a huge resource. Anything that you need, it's out there for free. Any question you just ask, and you'll get it. So a combination of these techniques help us, move through. Yeah.
Great. Thank you guys. This was a very rich introduction to yourselves, your journeys, your company. So thank you guys so much. Now I'm going to switch the conversation into the big elephant in the room, which is investing. So Boom, please take the lead. The mic is yours, and please go ahead and pick the reins.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the only part that I will intervene in Alam's show. Thank you, Shiko and Zalalam, for these very comprehensive answers around your journey so far. How you've built wealth, the lessons you've had so far. But now the wealth has been built, or there is already a mechanism of building this wealth. Now you have to magnify it, right? So that's when we touch on investing. And I have two questions. I'm going to start with Zalalam here. I see that you have made some real estate investments, specifically in Wenshi in Ethiopia. Is that how did you pick that specific investment? Why did you make that investment? And what's your vision for growing your own personal wealth?
So yeah, Wenchi is home, like home for me. Once I see it, I went there like a while ago with a friend to visit, and before reaching the site, looking at it from the top, it's like Wenchi is a crater lake, which is found a few 2-3 hours from Addis, which has a vast diversity in terms of flora diversity as in nature, and I fell in love with it, and I immediately bought a land and built a house there. I've always been interested in tourism as well, tourism and hospitality business, especially building real estate in an exotic place where a niche customer can take a break from the city life and lost in the wilderness. So yeah, I bought the land and built like a family kind of home where I can rent them for families or individual customer or corporate customers. And I also founded another company recently called Gule to take care of this with other partners. The idea is not to only limit by Wenchi, but we have identified other remote exotic places in Ethiopia to build this kind of infrastructure and to provide a unique service for customers like me who likes the wild, and as well as these kind of places. So that's why I got into that. Although I started with 1G, but we're moving into other places as well.
And is real estate your primary investment outside of the time you're investing and the resources you're investing in your initial business? Is real estate the main investment you're looking into, or do you have other investments that you are currently undertaking or considering?
Yes, I am considering a lot of other options as well. One, I'm considering on investing on technology companies, mainly delivery businesses, like food delivery business in Ethiopia that's being started right now. I'm also considering invest in an architectural firm that I'm discussing with the team at the moment. The reason I picked this architectural firm is because I have an interest to build these exotic places in different part of the country. I want my a company that I am involved in so that I can have a say in terms of design, because I have a specific design vision. So these are the two companies I'm currently considering and having a discussion with. But I'm also interested in investing in any business that I see fit with my personal goal and values. And I'm interested in investing in businesses mainly operating in Africa, given the opportunities the vast opportunity that's available here. Yeah, so this is the consideration I have.
Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing your kind of like your investment thesis for yourself and how you decide where you place your money. It seems
Yeah.
like you try to control the value chain, right? Like obviously real estate needs architecture and
Yeah.
that's your next business. Probably, as part of the resorts, there might be some food delivery needs. Then you go ahead and invest in the food delivery business. So that's a very interesting and tactical way of thinking about it. Thank you very much for sharing. And I'll be remiss to not ask for a formal invitation to those dream resorts. So hopefully,
I must
we
say,
can-
his real estate in Wenji is one of the most beautiful homes and places that I've ever been to in the world. So I
Amazing.
definitely recommend you all to consider a visit there.
Yeah. And just to add, I just got back from traveling for 7 days in the Omo Valley for two reasons. One, my own personal desire to see the country, but also me and my friend are scouting for places like places to build. Um, Africa is the most beautiful continent in the world. It's like you have these exotic places, beautiful places, untouched, undeveloped, um, uh, and like we've identified so many places along this route, cities, places outside of the city, with abundant nature. Anyone would be interested to come and like spend some time with. So there is a huge opportunity if we design and develop and implement it in a very conscious and with a greater goal. So yeah, Wenchi is like a result of that kind of exploration.
That's amazing. And if there's any resulting major real estate development project, coming out of that exploration, please make sure to keep Dalba in mind. I'm sure there are a lot of people that would love to participate, in benefit from such an amazing economic opportunity to, unlock kind of like tourism in these beautiful undiscovered places. So thank you for sharing your investment thesis and kind of like how you think about investments. Over to you, Chico. As an investor, what do you look for when you're looking to invest? What are the main criteria? And maybe tell us a little bit about the businesses you've made outside of the investments you've made outside of the two businesses that you're running today.
Yeah, so investment is important. In order to be able to create anything, you got to invest first, right? So with the two companies, Perfect Staffing and Perfect Office, along the way as an entrepreneur, and you continue and you add value, you're going to make something called a profit. And the way you use that profit can either help you to be able to advance in your journey towards wealth. So for me, as I made a profit, one of the things that I'm very interested in is real estate. So I would acquire different real estate, maybe like residential properties, condos. So along the way, I acquired maybe 2, 3, 4 um, real estate residential condos. But along the way, I realized something. I'm running 2 different businesses, but at the same time, I'm trying to manage my 4 to 5 different condos. So it became very hard for me to do so. And like Zalalem, in a way, I was like, you know what? I have a problem, right? The problem, I can develop a business around it to solve for him. He developed a business that solved something that he wanted to experience more, and he figured other people might want to experience seeing beautiful nature and things like that. For me, I was like, I'm a busy person and I'm acquiring properties and I'm having challenges in managing them. So this is what I need to do. I need to start a third company, a property management company that not only will manage my properties, but at the same time, they can go out and find busy professionals like me that have properties, and then we can manage that. So that's how I started my third company. So in starting my third company, I acquired more properties. So I have about 11, 12 properties. And then we manage over 50 different properties for other people who are busy. And then we just collect a property management fee. So that's that with the property side. I invest in property real estate. And then also I invest in the stock market. The stock market was, if I look back, the stock market was probably how I got really interested in business, because when I was a kid, around like 13 years old, my uncle used to always ask me why I was always outside playing outside, instead of reading books and investing in the stock market. And I didn't know what that was, but I wrote it down, and then I would go to the library and kind of read about the stock market. And then at the age of 13, I taught myself how to invest. But obviously you can't invest unless you're 18. You can't have your own brokerage account. So when I turned 18, I opened up my own brokerage account. But since then, I invest in the stock market very regularly, and invest in different companies that align with some of the things that I'm interested in. So I invest in the stock market as well. So that's pretty much it. So business, real estate, stock market. That's how I kind of do my thing.
And with respect to stock market investing, do you do your own stock picking, or do you work with an
Of course, that's the best way to do it. Nobody's going to care about your money more than you would.
Okay, that's one way to see it. That's one way to see it for sure. Yeah. It does take time. It does take, quite a bit of analysis sometimes. Self-directed investing, or individual stock picking, is a way. You do have to feel confident in your financial analysis abilities, and just kind of like trusting that you have the right decision. But there are also other professionals that do that for the living, right? For living. So I think both views are valid. But like, if you have the savvy, then why not do it yourself? Obviously. And with respect to your investments, any investments in Africa, are you considering Africa as an investment decision? And if you haven't already, what would you invest in Africa?
So I think of course I'm always open to, the whole world is our playground, right? So one of the things that I want to do is create the same types of businesses that I have here all over the world, Africa being, of course, one of them. That's my home country. What I would love to do eventually is take this same concept of affordable, professional, and flexible office spaces, and transplant this to Africa. Right now, we have 18 different locations in the U.S. I want to grow that out to 500. But as I'm doing that, I also want to have strategic partners, or have licensing deals or franchise situations in other countries that we can leverage. But right now, we're just trying to figure out that recipe to make it taste better. You know what I'm saying? Once we figure out that recipe, then we're going to be able to share it with the world.
Gotcha. Thanks. And so it seems like you have a vision to eventually kind of expand your business into Africa, and it really sticks around like what and what you've seen work, and kind of like replicating that.
Yes.
Thank you very much for sharing both of your investment thesis, how you think about putting your money to work, the money you've worked so hard to create, and sharing that with our audience. With that, I'll pass it back to Alan to conclude and open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, Boom. Well, thank you, both of you guys, Chico and Zelalem, so much. Our appreciation is understatement. You guys have dropped some really powerful gems for us as the DABA team, and also for our audience. So thank you guys very much for your time and for your insights on your experiences. I just want to conclude with one last question before we open it up for Q&A, so we can give the audience a chance to ask you guys some questions. So I want to know how do you guys advise, or what do you guys believe is the best way to transition from just being an average young professional to a successful leader in building wealth as a young African? Chico, I want to start with you because I saw one of your interviews or a recording. I think you were at a church, and you were sharing your START method, and I thought that was really interesting. So I want to know more about how you came up with that method, what inspired it, and why do you deem it as a very successful method for young professionals to abide by.
Wow, you're taking me back.
I did my research on you.
You're taking me back. Well, I mean, I guess just to summarize it, my thing for young professionals or individuals that have aspiration of adding value, which is basically wealth, is to just get started, because sometimes we're in our head and we're in our head too much. We overcomplicate and we overthink things when the basic principle of success or the basic principle of wealth is very simple. Okay. And sometimes what I call that knowledge constipation, right? Knowledge is supposed to come and flow. You get what I'm saying? You're supposed to eat and you're supposed to go. But a lot of times we have it stuck in our head. But when you have knowledge, you're supposed to apply that knowledge, right? So for young professionals, what I would say is you already know what it takes. You already have what it takes. You just got to get started, But it's that same concept with potential energy versus kinetic energy. You have what it takes. It's just that you need to be in motion now. Because I think about it, even when I was quitting my job at the age of 26 with only $1,000 in my bank account, right? I thought at that moment I was ready, right? But I soon discovered that I, quote unquote, wasn't ready. But because I was committed to the process, I was able to figure out a lot of different things that made it work. You know what I'm saying? So my advice to people is just get started. I know in the talk that you're talking about, I broke it down in terms of what the S means, what the A means, R means, and the T means. I can't remember it right now off the top of my head.
It's okay. Start is sufficient.
But the most important thing is that I think that what holds most people back is that we just never get started. And we just need to get started pretty much.
Absolutely. Zalalem, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm always talking about like from the setting that I'm in. Mostly.
That's what we want to hear from.
Yeah. I think one of the issues that we have, even ourselves and many young entrepreneurs, is to look for solutions that are already been out there, copy solutions from a different, setting and try to apply that in a setting like ours. I think the biggest factor for success here in our setting is to understand your surroundings, the peculiar problem that we face, and devise a solution, a way to apply some of our creative innovation to our problem. The second thing is I see when I have discussions with a lot of like-minded entrepreneurs, is like usually, like as Chico said, like most of the time it's the ideation stage stays too long. We talk about ideas, the way we can implement those ideas, and it takes too long before we start implementing. And I learned that idea was nothing until you start implementing it. And most of the challenges and the hurdles and the success comes during implementation. So I think implementation is the most important element in being successful in this kind of venture.
I agree. Thank you. I want to give the floor to the audience so they can ask their questions for the next few minutes. So Anthony, if you could please pull up any questions, or if you have questions yourself, Anthony, since you have not been with us on this conversation, please feel free to kickstart that conversation.
Hey, Alan, I don't have any specific questions right now. I've been monitoring the chat. It seems like we got a lot of information around where our audience is joining from, anywhere from Ethiopia to Boston to Austin, Texas,
Nice.
DC, Sudan, Virginia, Nairobi, Kenya. But we haven't got any question yet. So we'll give it a couple more minutes and
Okay.
hopefully we'll have a few questions coming in.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just to give you guys a heads up, nothing is off the table, so please feel free. Don't be shy to ask anything. This is your opportunity to figure out how to build wealth as a young leader. So tap in and let's pick their brains.
I think in the absence of any questions, we could maybe ask our two guest speakers here, maybe any parting words or pieces of advice towards like wealth building, specifically for Africans, whether they are in the diaspora or on the continent. And then that could be our final words. Zelalem, do you want to start? How do you build wealth? Pretty much like summarizing it. What's the most salient piece of advice you would give anybody listening to you right now?
I mean, so when it comes to Ethiopia, for example, you know, there are numerous opportunities given, regardless of the challenges, and I think the young people can actually look into their own surrounding and look into their own problem critically, and you know, apply some solutions. The path is much easier than going abroad or like, you know, those kind of things. So there is a numerous opportunity in a country like ours as we are developing, as we're starting to develop, to get into you know, a better economy. There are a number of sectors that are open for innovation. In that regard, we're lucky. If you want to get to tourism, it's an untouched business here. If you get into technology, we just started, and many solutions that are coming are mostly successful, actually. So there is actually a huge opportunity to tap into, to look into for African fellows like me, to get into these sectors and build wealth. That's you know, what I want to emphasize.
Thank you. So be critical, identify the areas where there are problems, jump at it, and thank you very much for that. Chico, do you want to maybe just piece of advice, get personal? What is it that, you know, most salient thing that somebody could do? I know you kind of talked on the start method, but maybe something, you know, something other than just get started, like, you know,
no. So I would say basically look around you. When you look around you, like Zelalem was saying, when you look around you, one thing you're going to notice is that you're going to notice that people are complaining, right? Mm-hmm. And people are usually complaining about something. If you just sit down or you just go about your day, you're going to at least be able to write down 10 complaints that came from random people or even sometimes yourself, right? If you just jot down those things on a daily basis, right? And review them at the end of the day and say, hold on, these are problems that I encountered today by myself or other people expressed. Which one of these problems do I have the best solution that individuals that I'm solving this problem for are willing to actually pay me? Because you can go around solving problems all day and nobody pay you anything. That's called a nonprofit, right? Or you can go around solving problems, right, that people are willing to pay you for. That's how you have a profitable business, a profitable enterprise. So yeah, so it's just making those lists, because it's a lot of them, especially once you become an entrepreneur, like every single day, I got to sometimes slow myself down in terms of the ideas that I have to start a new business. So the ideas are out there and the opportunity is out there. You just got to take a few minutes every single day, just kind of analyze it, and those will lead you to exactly where you need to be. And don't get too hung up on whether you're doing the right, if you're supposed to start this one first or start this one second or start just get started. You know what I mean? Because for me, I'm so glad that when I saw the opportunity to start a staffing company, I did, because then that now led me into starting my most profitable company, and then starting a company, my third company, that I'm very, very passionate about, because that's going to lead into me managing apartment complexes and eventually developing it, an apartment or a community called, well, I don't want to say the name yet, but in the future that I want to develop.
So as soon as we open it up for questions, the questions started going in. So
Yep.
now we have quite a few. I hope we can keep you for a few more minutes over, please. But I want to, there are a few shout outs that came in the chat that I just want to highlight here. And Anthony, I don't know if you can bring them up to, bring them up. So like, people found the conversation very insightful. There's one person that literally said, I agree with Chico. It seems like you're talking to me. We as people are in our head too much, right? So people really resonated with a lot of, with a lot of, what was said here. So maybe let's start with a question here. Okay, can the panelists shed light on how people should think about ROI in Africa, startups, real estate, etc., specifically in the bear environment? I think, Zalalam, do you want to take this one?
And also, I just want to quickly chime in, if we can keep our answers very succinct, since we have a lot of questions coming in, so we can address as many as possible. Thank you.
So, as I said, given our our setting started, the development, the path of development in money sector, return on investment is significantly higher than many other places. If you go to a banking sector, it's basically a money making scheme where return on investment exceed like close to 30%. 35% here. Telecom and technology, as I said, the country has started engaging technology in money sector, and we recently, there is a huge success in Ethiopia in a ride business, like a taxi, ride business, where it explodes within a year, exceeding every return of, like, margin of return of investment. So in Africa, at least in Ethiopia, it's higher because of the new business environment. I think, that's the point I want to make.
Yeah. So, like Zalalam was saying, return on investment in Africa probably is where you're going to get the most return on investment. Because let's say, for example, if you have value to add and the value is $10, right? If you're starting from a lower point, which I think, because Africa is not as developed as other countries in terms of the US, right? So if you have $10 of value to add and you're adding that to $100, quote unquote, US, you're only making 10% of an impact. But if you're adding that $10 to, let's say, Africa, which is at $10, you just had a return on investment of $100. I mean, of 100%. So I think Africa has more opportunities for a higher return on investment.
Yeah.
And just a quick plug here, you can find that information and the ability to invest on Daba. So check out our application, because that's essentially what we do for people, letting them find the gems across different countries, across the different sectors, as to where they can get started with as little as possible. Maybe next question, Anthony.
Absolutely. Let's bring it up. It's a question from Brooke. What do you guys think would be the best way to engage in different communities outside of your own African community, like bridging the gap between different countries in Africa?
I would say simply find a problem that they have and you be the solution. That's the easiest way to bridge a gap.
There you go. There you got it, Brooke. Next question, maybe from Michael.
Yeah. What 2 or 3 sectors do you think young entrepreneurs should focus on? Where the best opportunities of the next decades are likely to come from? Good question.
Can you guys tell the future?
Bilalam just mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, I mentioned a couple of them. I would say healthcare technologies is going to be huge, not only in Ethiopia, globally even. That's why we get into virtual clinic product that we're going to launch, because as Chico said, people are complaining about healthcare services. There are people like me who wants to get healthcare services at a convenient time, in a convenient way, but solutions are not being made. So healthcare technology is one big area. Um, uh, yeah, so I think I want to say, from my point of view, from the area that I work on, healthcare technology is a huge opportunity for many years to come.
Yeah, people are always going to need good health. People are always going to need somewhere to live. People are always going to need food. Women are always going to want to look beautiful, and men are always going to want to spend money. So yeah, I mean, those are opportunities right there. Just find problems that you can easily solve, and you're in business making money.
There you go, Michael. All right, Anthony, maybe let's take 2 more, and then yeah.
All right. So let's take 2 more. Wow.
Yeah,
Comments and questions keep coming
there are quite
in.
a few. Let's put up one of Naomi's questions. She had
All
2,
right.
so let's pick one of them.
All right. Naomi's question is, as an organization gets larger, there can be a tendency for the institutions to dampen the inspiration of what you do. How do you keep that from happening?
Wow.
How do you keep your competitive advantages alive and sustained?
How do you stay true to yourself?
Mhm.
That's the question here.
Yeah. We do. So we do. One of the things that we do in our company is we have a wing, research and development wing. We actually recognize that is a key function in our process, and we formed it from the get-go. And this department, what they do is like they continuously do research and development, mainly like in technology, new innovative ideas, new requirements. Before client ask, we do a lot of surveys, and we always incorporate new ideas and new functions to our system. So that kept us on the competitive advantage actually. So I think it's a good investment to have that kind of research and development wing in any business function, be it small or big. That's what I want to make say.
Great.
I agree.
Anthony, sorry, go ahead.
I said I agree. As your company is growing, you got to continue to tell that story. Tell the story, and help people to understand what type of culture that you have. Because at any given moment, when you forget, your customers will be able to remind you. Just like at any given moment, if Alam forgets her name, I will remind her. You know what I mean? Because now she's communicated long enough who she is, and we'll be able to remind her. So as your organization grows, continue to communicate who you are, what you stand for, and people will remind you along the way if you forget.
Absolutely. Anthony, I want to get to Amin's question. I think it's a great closeout question, and then you can conclude the discussion. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for staying longer, guys.
All right. The question from Amin is, great discussion. Question, what's your take on how African entrepreneurs can collaborate more, share resources, and create synergies?
The reason why I choose this question is because after this call, I want to continue fostering that sense of community amongst all of us on this call, but also with our audience. And so I don't want this to be like a one-off opportunity and discussion. I want to continue this and allow you guys and the audience to continue networking and building with each other. So I just wanted to highlight this question and hear your insights on terms of like, how would you like to carry this conversation and network along and how can our audience do that and as they network within this space?
Do you want to? Yeah. So let me say something. I think creating forums like this and bigger forums actually are important. I know there are a number of forums, conferences and getting together, networking events happening, but majority of them I feel are hijacked by, you know, um, uh,
It's okay, you can say it.
yeah, mostly these are like funded by the West, and the opinions and ideas are imported, and that actually prevent most African innovators to focus on their own problem, their own way of like solving their own perspective. And usually, like technology innovation gets imported, and we spend a lifetime to understand it and try to fit it to our situation. And I think pure, like genuine African networking events, conferences, and forums are really important. That highlights, the big issue that we face, and the peculiar issues that we face, and uh, viable solution that works for us. I'm not disregarding the effort that's being made by others, but it's really, really important to put our own perspective into the solution making, and into this networking and collaboration platforms. It's really important.
Absolutely.
I wanted to add on that. I think Africans as people, we are community beings. Like we are very social by nature, and I think in our thinking around Daba, we've actually made the application a social investment application. So you can have what we call circles that are communities geared around specific topics that you care about, meeting like-minded people that could share mainly investment strategies, but it could be topical and kind of like cover a breadth of different matters. So, that is one way that you find, your people, your tribe to discuss the things that you care about and have these create this common knowledge around the areas that you care about. So, like that's one way that we try to foster that exchange of ideas, that community. But like, Zalala mentioned, these conferences that are really focused on Africa by African innovators, are another way.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Conversation, concentration, and community. So basically, a conversation has to continue, and then us as entrepreneurs, we have to concentrate in that area or that niche or that problem that we're trying to solve, and really be the best at it. Because if we're the best at it, what's going to happen is other people are going to talk about it and share that. Hey, you know what? If you need an office space, you need to go to Chico. If you need staffing, you need to go to Chico, right? And what happens is another counterpart, right? Another, let's say, African entrepreneur is looking for a collaboration, right? They're going to be able to hear about me and within their community, and then we can collaborate, we can connect and collaborate together. So conversation, concentration, build a community that allows us to collaborate. Oh man, I like that. There goes my 4 C's right there. Let me write that down.
And don't forget it this
I think
time.
there's no better way to end this. This is perfect. Conversation, collaboration, concentration. There you go. The 3 C's for success. You've heard it on Daba first.
Well, thank you guys so much, especially for staying 15 minutes later. We truly appreciate you guys. You guys have really inspired me. I hope you guys also inspired our co-founders. And it seems like our guests are also very happy about the discussion. So thank you all so much. I'm going to open the floor for Anthony and Boom to quickly say their thank yous and close us out.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Chico, Zalalam, for sharing your journeys, sharing your lessons and your views around wealth building as well as investing. Thank you, Alam, for orchestrating all of this, putting this together, and also leading the conversation here. Cannot thank you enough. Thank you, Anthony, for the behind the scenes monitoring and making sure the slide deck is up, putting up the questions. We appreciate you. And thank you to the audience that joined us during this conversation. It will be live on our YouTube, so you can consume it at your own time. And we would love to welcome you to the Daba community to continue these conversations and help you in your wealth building journey in Africa and beyond in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.